So hey guys, today we're back with another deck building kind of a video. So I had an idea a while back and I think it was a pretty good one. So if we use the Horus cards, we can very effectively access a gimmick puppet kind of engine, I suppose. And even after that, I think honestly, we could maybe even make Curious. I would not be surprised if we could. But the important thing here is that the Horus cards, if we resolve or in some way, shape, or form, we get access to King Sark in hand, Imseti, or even Walls of the Imperial Tomb, although Walls is kind of trash if we particularly open this one. We can access the Gimmick Puppet stuff. And when we access the Gimmick Puppet stuff, it allows us to do quite a lot of, well, I'd say interesting things. So with the Gimmick Puppet stuff, what we can do, although it requires running like some Garnets, well, first off, we can get an extra normal summon for a machine monster. Not sure if that's like relevant to anything, but yeah, the Gimmick Puppet extra deck cards actually don't lock you at all. So if we go ahead and make Gimmick Puppet Fantastic Machinex, and then we go ahead and make CXYZ Gimmick Puppet Fanatics Machinex by ranking up over Gimmick Puppet Fanatics Machinex, we get this lovely effect right here. You can detach one material from this card. Special summon one monster from either graveyard to your opponent's field in defense position. This allows me to not only give my opponent any card, technically, I could give my opponent, well, let's assume it was legal. This would allow me to give my opponent yugioh, for example. And Gimmick Puppet locks are specifically on some main deck Gimmick Puppet cards, so it's perfectly fine to go through this. It's not even on the rank up. So we can just do this, and this is whenever you special summon a Gimmick Puppet XYZ monster at all. Huh. This doesn't necessarily need to be you special, well, XYZ summoning a Gimmick Puppet monster. Interesting. So, alright. Let's assume we activate, I guess, Gimmick Puppet Fanatics Machinex. So it's pretty easy to do. All we have to do is get access to King Sark, send some guys, summon Gimmick Puppet Fanatics Machinex, search the rank up, and then we can go ahead and then just very plainly rank up. I think it's probably best to do rank up Magic Argent Chaos Force, because then if we are going to do another XYZ summon, we just get to add this back to our hand, and then we'd be able to discard it for King Sark. Assuming we're not ranking up again, but even if we are, we could potentially also special summon Gimmick Puppet Fanatics Machinex to add back this rank up just for a second time, and then we can discard it yet again. And also, the Gimmick Puppet Fanatics Machinex here searches a Puppet Trap, and the only reason we care about this specifically is, once again, because of King Sark. We can just discard the trap for King Sark to get like another Horus into the graveyard for relatively low cost. So to break it down, if we were to resolve specifically Imseti, this is basically the best starter you can get, right? So we're going to discard whatever card, draw a card, and right now in our hand we'll have 5 cards. So if we then activate King Sark, that will be 4 cards. And Imseti is also in the graveyard, so now we just send whatever card, and we have 2 Horus monsters to special summon. So we can special summon them, search the rank up, perform rank up, activate the effect to do whatever. So in this case, we'll probably be activating this one first to add Service Puppet Play. I guess we could do that. And then that would allow us to pitch Service Puppet Play. And then I think from here we would do rank up, give our opponent a monster. So you would need like some other engine cards to be able to reasonably set up the Magic Argent Chaos Force before King Sark, I suppose, but I guess it's doable enough. So we'll take it. It's a little bit offbeat, I guess, a little bit off tempo. I think you have to discard another card from your hand then. depending on the exact situation, but you can always just use these cards as discard fodder for something else. Like, I don't know, let's say a Diabil Star, if you were running that, I suppose. We could Diabil Star pitch Magic Argent Chaos Force later, if we were able to add it in some way, shape, or form. So that's the general idea of this. So next, maybe we're going to have to look at if we can make Curious or not. Because if we can make Curious, we can get pretty far. So on our field would absolutely be, I think, Gimmick, Puppet, Fanatics, Machinex, which we have to leave on the field, I guess. Curious, the Lightsworn Dominion. And then we have, I guess, any Horuses. It could be any of them. It's just a matter of how many cards we have in hand. And, well, we always start with 5, so we can technically, assuming we're one-carding this, we can have any Horus cards here. So this effect has to detach, though, which is kind of not insanely great. But if we were to use this in a very basic combo way, what we could technically do, I suppose, is we could give our opponent, assuming we're playing, in this case, maybe something like the Adventure Engine. Or maybe we're just simply running, and I think this might be useful technically, but we could be running Akashic. So Akashic maybe could bounce, I don't know, Imseti back to the hand to grab a Kingsark later. Perhaps. I don't know, it could bounce something else entirely. But what we could use this to bounce is we could bounce back like an Ash Blossom Joe Spring we used against Maxi or something. So hand traps. Any hand traps in our graveyard, we could technically bounce back with this. So maybe if we pair this with like the Zombie Vampire, we go the Zombie Vampire first and then go into Fanatics. Maybe then we could Akashic bounce something fairly useful, and also some other card that's fairly useful. So maybe there's this idea actually, where we just do all of our Gimmick Puppet searches. We just sit on the Fanatics for a little bit after we search our like rank up and Surface Puppet play. We make Zombie Vampire, the Zombie Vampire effect to mill and special summon. Let's say maybe we, I don't know, it doesn't really matter, does it? Well, in this case, we wouldn't have normal summon. So let's just say for the sake of this example, we mill Moyi, which would be fine. So we mill Moyi, we special summon the Moyi, sure. So in this case, maybe we don't have a Wyrm for Moyi, and that would be fine, I guess. So we put Moyi in the Akashic zone, and let's assume we mill just like another Wyrm that we can just special summon, just pretty much any Wyrm really. We can special summon that with Gimmick Puppet Fanatics Machinex, and then we can special summon that to our opponent's field. And the interesting thing about this is if we Akashic Magician effect here, then we'll be able to add back both cards, and we still have yet to normal summon, right? So then we can normal summon Moyi afterwards, actually triggering its effect and full Sorcerer comboing. So the cards just have to be in the graveyard, so they could have started in our hand, and it's a little bit risky technically, but we could Kingsark, throw a starter, and then add it back to our hand later. So in this case, let's assume maybe we start with Moyi. We can give our opponent Moyi actually and put it in the Akashic zone, and then we can special summon whatever monster. So maybe it's like an Ash Blossom Joe Spring or whatever. Just whatever monster, we just need one milled off of the Zombie Vampire, and then we can Akashic bounce back both. And in this case, I think we can link off the Zombie Vampire and Gimmick Puppet Fanatics Machinex if we really wanted to. That's one way we could go about it. And that's pretty neat, I suppose. And if we were lowering our own life points, I mean, technically, we could also even start considering Pain Gainer, right? I think, right? Is this Pain Gainer that we're looking for? Let's see. No, this is the wrong one, I think. Yeah. It's not Pain Gainer. Is it, Ravenous Tarantula then? Yeah, I think so. All monsters you control gain attack and defense equal to the difference between your life points and your opponent's. This card has XYZ material. Each time your opponent special summons a monster, inflict 600. Wait, how do you summon this? Oh, it's with 2 10s. You can't cheat it out like Pain Gainer. Alright, never mind. So I was thinking maybe we could rank up one of these guys into that, and then we just have a really thick Apollosa. Maybe if we like had played Destrude or something, that'd be an option, but I guess not, right? I mean, if we could make that though, that'd be a different story, I suppose. But you could also make Veridris. Actually, is this better than Veridris? It could be, situationally. Wait, you could play this as Tech and Ubel, because you do have the ability to run a Piri Ray map. So if you resolve specifically Piri Ray map, you would have like an obscenely big Apollosa. It would be like, assuming it's normally 2.4k, we could gain an additional 4k attack on that Apollosa, putting it at 6.4k. Almost being like just 10 monster negates by itself. That's kind of cursed in its own way, actually. Well, yeah, that aside, let's see. If we wanted to do something else, we could return hand traps. We could send cards to the graveyard and add them back to hand in a roundabout way, but only specifically monsters, I suppose, in this way, which is probably useful for something. It's not like, well, I don't have it off the top of my head exactly what you could do, but it would be pretty useful if you had some sort of Foolish Barrel effect and you would return whatever to your hand with the Horus cards. It requires like the Gimmick puppet cards as well, so extra deck space friendly. Is it that unfriendly? I mean, technically it's only 3 monsters, right? And if we have Gimmick Puppet, Fanatics Machinax actually, and the Zombie Vampire, if we summon both of these guys, well, let's assume we detach off of the Gimmick Puppet Fanatics Machinax to activate its effect. We detach the Fanatics Machinax. We can summon the Zombie Vampire after. Well, this line would be a completely different line than the previous ones, but we would be able to then special summon back Gimmick Puppet Fanatics Machinax with its own effect here, I think, right? No, it has to be a Gimmick Puppet XYZ monster. So that wouldn't quite work. Okay. But actually, is there a way we would be able to summon back the Fanatics Machinax to our field? I guess it would be quite roundabout, but we could technically maybe use the Atlantis for this, depending on exactly what kind of combo we're doing. To trigger this back to maybe make Utopic Draco Future. Because the Zombie Vampire plus this guy would indeed be Utopic Draco Future. It's just a matter if we can special summon back the Fanatics, actually, which we might be able to do this. I'm not 100% sure what the best way would be to do this, but we could, right? We just have to specifically special summon a Gimmick Puppet XYZ monster. And then this would also add us a rank up, which would be more discard fodder. So I'm thinking about it, and maybe it's going to be something not that obvious. Well, actually, yeah, no. I was thinking maybe we could use like the XYZ armor stuff, but then I remember UDF requires like 2 XYZ summons, so that's not necessarily going to be super worth it. But I'm pretty sure there definitely is a way to do this, but I don't think it's efficient, so I'm probably not going to look into that too much more. But actually, wait a second. If this card is in your graveyard, except the turn it was sent there, and you control a Gimmick Puppet XYZ monster, you banish this card, then target 1 XYZ monster in either graveyard special summon to either field in defense position. Maybe this effect also has some usage. Not sure. But I'm pretty sure there is no Gimmick Puppet rank 8 that is particularly useful to summon to build advantage in the same way something like the Zombie Vampire would. And that would be a lot more helpful. We can actually also technically use Service Puppet Play as actual interruption as well, though. We could just set this and just end with the Fanatics Machinax on our field, and this is still useful because this does have the pop effect. If you're uh, if your opponent special summons a monster, or if a monster special summons your opponent's field, you would be able to pop that card and then inflict burn damage to your opponent equal to half the original attack. And then we could also service puppet play, and then later turn we would, on a later turn, we would be able to activate the graveyard effect of service puppet play, and this would allow us to special summon the Fanatic's Mechanex, which is kinda useful, I suppose. And then that would allow us to bring back, I guess, the Gimmick Puppet Fanatics Mechanex. And this needs a detach to do the search. Alright. But this would just be a body at least that we could use for something. Since we are already running the Horus cards, actually, the following turn we would definitely be able to summon back all the Horus cards and do something involving rank 8s. So, that's pretty neat. And the important thing to consider, of course, with all of this is that this is all pretty much just a one-card combo, right? So, it has no lock, so I could play any other archetype I wish with this. So, one idea I could have is, for example, I could do Altergeist. And the only downside to Altergeist is specifically with Multi-Faker locking you, there are some decent mills you could have. And also, it is worth mentioning that, well, I'm not 100% sure what these effects say. This card is sent from the field to the graveyard. Oh, it's field to the graveyard, not owner's field to the graveyard or anything like that. Okay. So, with this, we could technically special summon and kind of do things with Meluseek, which is kind of neat, I suppose. Not 100% sure how far we would be able to get with just like maybe one Meluseek, but we could do some things which, you know, that could be interesting. Well, I'm not sure like Altergeist is that great. Like, it works technically, and most things would work with this kind of Horus package. But it's not exactly great because Altergeist kind of sucks, honestly. It's an Altergeist issue, not really the rest of this engine. What if we did Vanquish Soul? Well, Vanquish Soul, you kind of want cards in hand, so probably not, actually. So, alright. What if we did something else? How about, well, we're looking at hopefully maybe something that doesn't lock you, but honestly, something that locks you wouldn't even be that bad. What if we did this with Kashtira? That would be okay, I suppose. If we mill any assortment of monsters, it's not too bad. The only issue is that if we give our opponent a Kashtira monster, it's not exactly great because, you know, Fenrir, Unicorn, Ogre, they all hurt if our opponent gets to resolve them, so yeah, that's actually a little bit problematic. So maybe we do Tearlaments instead, right? We could do Tearlaments with this package. It's not like too big, I suppose. Curious isn't really necessary because I don't think I've solved how we could really effectively use Curious. But actually, if we resolve the Zombie Vampire and then we resolve Fanatics, we can easily link them off with Imseti to then do essentially a Milfor and then a Foolish Burial, which is not bad for a kind of one-cardish combo. So there is that, I suppose. If we do get like a light level 2 monster as well, though, Imseti is actually a dark monster, so we could make a light and dark Chaos Angel. That's also something that's worth considering with the Horus cards, I suppose. And then if we were to transition to like a synchro kind of thing afterwards, yeah, that doesn't sound so bad, right? Speaking of which, with the isn't this generic? And let's see. While this synchro summon card is on the field, your opponent cannot activate effects of monsters with the same original attribute as the Yang Zing monster used for the synchro summon of this card. Wind, light. We could technically also use Chiwen to make Chaofeng as well. There are ways we could technically get into this, which is kind of neat, I suppose. We could also technically just go for Denglong into this as well, right? Yeah, alright. So those are some small ideas, I suppose. So let's try to find something that's a lot more advantageous than maybe. What about Orcust? With the Orcust cards, we have Dingusu, right? So we can do some funky things with this as well. I don't think I'd be very confident playing like Verte in this build because if we were to specifically use the Zombie Vampire and the Mana Garnets we already have from performing this combo, that doesn't sound great necessarily. But then again, this rank up is actually somewhat generic. It just needs to specifically target a rank 5 or higher XYZ monster, and it can then go into any extra deck chaos number that is 1 rank higher. So that means if I were to actually summon Dingirsu, I could go into any chaos Xyz. Well, is there a good one? This one we can't make at all. Heart Earth Dragon is not a CXZ, so we can't make that. We can make Coach Lord Ultimate Trainer. Let's see what this does. This card cannot be targeted by card effects if this card has an XYZ material. If this card has an XYZ monster as an XYZ material against this effect, once per turn, you can detach 1 XYZ material from this card, draw 1 card, and reveal it. Then, if it was a monster, inflict 800 damage to your opponent. Oh, wait. Wait, this is actually kind of good. Huh. Alright, that changes things. Just a little bit, though, right? Too bad there's a fire. Yeah, this is a fire monster. If this was a dark monster, this would work a lot better with Dinkirsu. But that would allow us to search quite a few guys, I guess, in general. Alright. Aside from that, there is not much here. But if we were playing a deck... Well, wait, this is a chaos number? What does this do? Once per turn, you detach 1 material from this card until the end of this turn. Negate the effects of all of the face-up cards currently on the field. Also, your opponent cannot activate cards or effects on the field. Wait, that's actually kind of useful, but that'd be for like more like OTKing. So not particularly useful here, but if we weren't dark locked like in Orcust, right? We would be able to technically just rank up into this guy. And if we rank up into this, we could even technically just rank up the Gimmick Puppet Fanatics Mechanics with us, right? If we were to be playing a small Gimmick Puppet package, right? Wouldn't that get there? So, I don't know. What Gimmick Puppet XZs are there again? Well, we're looking for probably an 8, so it's probably... this one's probably the best one, I would think. Probably, right? String counters, yada yada, destroy, inflict, burn. Okay, so what if we did 1, 2, 3? That would be draw 3, I guess. Plus one extra deck space, but that's like fine, I think, right? And we get the body back because we get to special summon Gimmick Puppet Fanatics Mechanics, I guess, again, right? And then we can also pitch the rank up Magic Arch and Chaos Horus. So here's the idea. We'll special summon Gimmick Puppet Fanatics Mechanics. We'll search, special summon the CXYZ Gimmick Puppet Fanatics Mechanics, and then we can use the effect for whatever. Well, within reason. And then we can Gimmick Puppet Giant Grinder here to special summon, well, we can special summon it, and then that'll trigger Gimmick Puppet Fanatics Mechanics effect. We can special summon this as well. And when we do summon Gimmick Puppet Giant Grinder, we actually get to add Argent Chaos Force here, so we could discard it at this point. And then we can add it back with Gimmick Puppet Fanatics Mechanics. And then we can rank up into Coach Lord Ultimate Trainer here, and in this case, it'll have the 2 materials we used to make it, and then itself. So that would be 1 draw, right? Because this is soft once per turn, so it's not that great. So it would be best to technically rank up the Gimmick Puppet Fanatics Mechanics into this. Well, alright, I guess. So this is worse than just normal giant trainer, I think. Well, how much do we value the one draw, really? Hmm. Technically, at this point, if we do rank up into the Ultima Trainer, neither of these guys are technically number monsters, I think. So we could go into Draco Future still. Maybe. Well, actually, if we make any rank 8, now that I think about it, we could detach some guys, rank it up into the Ultima Trainer, because this adds itself. Well, we can just ignore this effect as well. That's also an option, and then we can just add the Magic Argent Chaos Force after summoning like the Zombie Vampire instead, and then rank up into Ultima Trainer, get the draw, and then we get rid of these two for Utopic Draco Future, right? Two XYZ monsters with the same rank except for number monsters. Not a number monster, also not a number monster. Okay, good. So then we could do this, and this is all like essentially a one card combo. So yeah, I mean you can technically FTK with this, but I mean there are other usages aside from FTKing strictly, and kind of cool, honestly. Hmm. Well, now this becomes pretty complicated, I suppose. Hmm. Well, I'm not 100% sure the best usage out of this because there's just so many dumb things you can technically do here. So I guess, yeah, that's all I got for you guys today, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.